Ohio, everybody! I'm back from OhioCon! Finally, right? It's been long enough since we've done one of these episodes, but it was really cool. I got to hang out with a bunch of members of Team Pizza, I got to check out Artist Alley and see a whole bunch of the stuff they were doing up there, all the up-and-comers, and a lot of regulars as well, like the guy who does Spinneret. And I picked up a whole bunch of cool stuff while I was there, including this shirt right here. Yes, it's awful, and I love it for that. And the biggest surprise of the entire show, the one thing I did not expect to happen, was I actually met another YouTuber. He goes by the name SwankyBox here on YouTube. You may have seen some of his stuff already. And that was really neat. Like, he was running a couple different panels while I was there. One about running a successful Kickstarter, one about starting up on YouTube. Didn't learn much while I was there, but it still sort of reaffirmed that a lot of the things I've been doing were correct so far. And it was about the creative process. Pretty much what I took away from most of it is that I'm not advertising myself enough, so I'm going to try to take advantage of social media more in the future, but all in all, the best thing that I got from that is I got to meet somebody. I got to talk shop with a dude who's been through this process and been a lot more successful at this process than I have. He even asked what my YouTube channel was, which was incredibly humbling considering he has about 10 times the subscribers I do. So, in the weird off chance that you're actually watching this, dude, well...
Well, the Nintendo Switch is a thing that happened. Yes, I realize I'm a little late to this party, but that was on purpose. We always get more information after these kinds of conferences that either shines a new light on the things said or gives us more details to work with. And that's when you really start to understand if something is everything it claims to be. In my opinion, it's not worth doing a hot take if the room temperature one ends up being a lot more informative and useful to people. So after all has been said and done, am I excited for Nintendo's new console? Yes. Like any new piece of tech, it has some very neat ideas going for it that could lead to some interesting games. Things like the HD Rumble, or how it enables multiplayer like nothing else before it. In fact, I even put $50 down on a pre-order for one the day after the show. But here's the thing. I ended up canceling that pre-order. Why? Because I later realized that I just don't need it right away. There's nothing about this console that gives me a reason to buy it day one, and the more I start to look at things like pricing, the online fee, and the cost of things like Pro controllers, the more I find the idea of waiting to be vastly more appealing. Why? Well, let's start with price. In my mind, $300 is pretty fair for a brand spanking new game console. However, that comes with a few caveats. It's $300 for just the console. That's it. No extra controllers, no credit for the online service that's coming, and especially no other games. In a market where you can pick up a PS4 bundled with Uncharted and a year's worth of PlayStation Plus for only $330, that's a pretty hard sell. And true, I can't take my PS4 with me wherever I go, but if reports about the Switch's battery life are any indication, I might not be able to take it either. I'm sorry, but 2 to 6 hours of playtime is virtually useless. And truth be told, I barely even play mobile games outside the comfort of my own home anyway, so for me, the experience is largely going to be the same. I don't see myself getting invited to any rooftop parties anytime soon is all. I'm not too bent out of shape over the price of the Joy-Cons. Like, I've still got my original controller for the Wii U, so I trust myself to be careful with this thing. That and presumably anybody I'd meet to play these games with would have brought their own, so the reasons to buy another are few and far between anyway. I am miffed about the price of the Pro controller, though, because why would you play these games without one? That's the whole point, is to escape the gimmick. So that would actually bump up the price of my initial purchase to $370 instead. But that's only the beginning. Now we need something to actually play on the thing, and this is what really sealed the deal for me. What gave me no regrets in switching that money to something else. And I'm gonna break these down one game at a time. No. Just no. Why'd you even spend money making this thing if it wasn't gonna be a pack-in? But hey, who knows, it looks like a nice little budget title. For an extra $10 or $20, I'm sure I could fit this into my budget. Oh. That's full $50 release, is it? Well, see ya. Again, this would work so much better as a little downloadable title. Don't get me wrong, I'm happy Bomberman is coming back, but not full price release happy. I see what you're trying to do here. It's a launch title with a multiplayer focus, which gets more hands on controllers and encourages people to go buy the console themselves. But the only problem is that this is not $50 worth of game. It's a 50-stage story mode, 8-player multiplayer, and online. That's it. Even the official website is so strapped for ideas that it touts photoreal graphics as a selling point. Oh, by the way, guess who you're giving your money to if you buy this? Nope. Alright, now we're getting somewhere. If you haven't heard of Snipperclips, it's one of the launch titles for the system. The catch is that you have to take pieces out of the other player's character in order to create the right shapes needed to solve a puzzle. Clever idea, cute presentation, and after the rest of the money I just spent, I'd be more than willing to drop the extra $20 this thing is asking. So what does that bring us up to now? 390? Yeah. Snipperclips, thumbs up. This is a labyrinth roguelite about retired adventurers going on one last quest. It's also $20, which is nice, and truth be told, if I had to choose between this and Snipperclips, I feel like I'd get more mileage out of Heroes. I'd certainly buy this over Isaac, and that statement comes with so many asterisks they take up the rest of this paragraph by themselves. Yes, I know about Isaac's history with Nintendo, and yes, I love that game to death as evidenced by my play record on Steam. I'm just wondering what possible reason I would have to buy it on Switch if I've already got it on PC. We're gonna come back to this point later, but essentially, I'd be paying $40 for something I already own, except it's objectively worse because it doesn't have mod support. No thank you. Alright, here it is, the big one. The game that is going to sell the Switch because people are gonna be buying the console just to play it. Except it's not that, really. Remember how I said I moved my pre-order to something else? Well, that something else was the Wii U version of Breath of the Wild, because that's a console I already own, and theoretically, there won't be much difference between versions. Note how I said theoretically, however. Remember how Hyrule Warriors Legends ran terribly on the original 3DS? How it chugged along at sub 30 frames per second and didn't even have a 3D feature? Oh boy, you better believe I'm gonna lay into Nintendo if that happens with Breath of the Wild. Let's hope this is more Twilight Princess than PS3 Bayonetta, yeah? I already own the original, and after the more than fair prices I paid for that game's DLC, I ain't dropping $60 on 5 new characters in a proper battle mode. Next! Here's something you should know about me. Pretty much everyone in my family has a competitive streak and a really short temper. Because of that, I tend to have a pretty miserable time in fighting games and just avoid them altogether when possible. You could argue that I should buy it just for the sake of doing a review, but there are also plenty of other games releasing during that time that are way higher on my list of priorities. Speaking of... well, here's where I finally break down. That's right, between this and Fire Emblem Warriors is where I can't avoid a purchase anymore. But again, there's a catch to this, and I feel like it's something that needs to be said. When has Nintendo ever provided an online service worth paying for? I can think of like 3 games I even use their servers for, and I only play 2 of those on a regular basis. And don't even get me started on how their idea of an incentive is to let you rent a ROM file. Emulation is a topic for another video, but when Sony and Microsoft are giving me fantastic and fairly new titles like FURI, Resident Evil HD, Armello, Sunset Overdrive, The Banner Saga 2, and Saints Row 4 to keep, as long as I have my subscription running, the fact that Nintendo is offering you one decades-old game a month temporarily is beyond baffling to me. I don't want to pay for their servers out of principle because of how blatant of a bum deal this is. Anyways, back to Splatoon 2. Nothing but love for the original, and based on the trailer, I don't imagine I'll love this one any less. Funnily enough though, that seems to be why some people are criticizing it, saying that it doesn't look innovative enough. Right, let's take a look back at some of Nintendo's recent innovations, shall we? this how Call of Duty fans feel? God, sorry for the jokes, guys. Seriously, if all Splatoon ends up being is more of what was already good, at this point, I'll call that a victory. The rest of the third-party stuff is all the same arguments. I either own them already or could get them cheaper on platforms already in my possession. Nintendo brags about how many companies are supporting this console, but it's support that doesn't amount to anything. If I wanted half these games, I'd already own them by now, from Disgaea 5 to Shovel Knight, I Am Setsuna, and the Skyrim Definitive Edition, which in itself was kind of a misnomer when it first came out, because I've owned the Definitive Edition of that game for years. Oh snap, I went there. And that's the situation I'm in right now. I could drop $470 total, including Zelda, on something I'll play for 3 weeks at best, and then it'll sit on my floor for up to 6 months collecting dust until Splatoon 2 and Fire Emblem come out. On the other hand, $60 will give me an equivalent experience on systems I'm far more familiar and comfortable with until the holidays roll around, when the Switch will experience an inevitable price drop anyway. Hey, I admit, some of these gripes are personal, and I gotta give Nintendo credit for one thing. Unlike most companies that blow all the good stuff on release day, they intentionally staggered releases for the system so that people other than me would continue to have something to play on it for the whole year. That's some pretty straightforward thinking for a corporation, and because of that, maybe all this sounds like it's right up your alley. If that's the case, don't let me ruin your enthusiasm. I'm just making this video so you can 1. Make a better decision yourself now that you know the facts, and 2. Understand why for people like me, the Switch is the quickest I've ever gone from being excited to being completely numb.
So a little bit of a production question for you guys. I have been struggling with my lighting setup for quite some time now. I've got a light now. It's illuminating my face and it's helping you see me a little better. I don't look like I've stepped out of the shadow zone here, but at the same time, it's kind of reflecting in my glasses. You're seeing that weird glare kind of flash in your face all the time. Is that distracting? Does it bug you at all? Do you notice it, period? Because even if you're just noticing it, if it's something that you're actively seeing, that alone might be a reason to get rid of it. And I've tried moving this light in all kinds of different places, and it just doesn't look right if it's not where it is right now. If I put it too low, it makes me look scary. I can't put it too high, and even then it makes me look unusual. If I put it too far to the side, half my face is obscured in shadow, and that doesn't help anything. So what do you guys think? Should I just keep the glasses? I kind of like the way I look with them, but I'm fine without them either. Can't really see my preview screen on the camera, but hey, I've been doing this long enough. Maybe I know how everything's supposed to look generally before I do the shoot. But glasses or no, thank you all again for watching this week, and please tune in again next week when we're going to tackle a subject that I hinted at earlier in the episode. Something that I probably should have talked about a long time ago, which is emulation. Oh boy, I can't wait for the comments on that one. Until then, I'm Whatthefnu. Later, everybody.